Hey guys, welcome to an impromptu, unrehearsed unboxing video. This just arrived. It's bigger and heavier than I expected, so I grabbed a video camera. I have a number of searches saved on eBay, generally for obscure things. Parts I'm looking for, brands that are uncommon, stuff I can't easily get. And once in a great while I get a hit, and that's what happened with this. It's part of a Protelgram, I think. That Norelco projection system with the little 3-inch CRT. I now have two Protelgrams and two Scott 6T11s, all of which use the Norelco Protelgram projection system, and they all need help, so I try to pick up parts when I can. But this is bigger and heavier than I expected, because I've picked up the optical unit before, and it was in the original box, and it said Protelgram on it, and this seems to be a lot heavier, and I mean, I showed photos of what was in here, and it looked like the right thing. But on the box it says Opti something, type 160 AD. Of course, you say this is the actual original box, but anyways, let's see what is actually in here. Yeah, no, that is what it is, and we obviously have packing stuff that fits in there pretty tightly, which makes me think it is the original. Maybe it was resold as part of some kit or something. It doesn't have the CRT though. Yeah, that's something I a little impulsively bid on this without knowing fully what all it was, because the seller didn't know what it was, but I just saw the photos and pounced on it. Because on the side of this and on the photos it says that this unit comes with CRT pre-installed, but there is no CRT. However, that's alright. I mean, yes, of course I prefer to get one, but the rest of it looks to be... This might be unused. So, one of the issues that some of my units have is this. This is a special corrective lens, plastic lens, like a contact lens. And they face straight up just like this, and like this one is dusty. I have some that are in really miserable shape. One in particular, water got onto it, so that's in particular why I wanted these. And they're kind of custom fit to each unit or set up. There's a lot of little configuration screws and stuff. So it's nice to get one that's all complete. And this is why I think it's unused. I mean, okay, for one, the crinkle paint finish on this is like pristine, but also this is still here, and this is protecting one of the optical surfaces. Or, well, no, I mean the insides. Oh yeah, so... Alright, that's a drag. I overpaid for what this is. So not only is the CRT missing, it's missing the yoke and the mounting thing here that would have gone here and held onto the neck. This is just the optics. But even so, I can swap the CRT and yoke and such. CRT socket out of one of my other sets, but the optics in this look really clean. The front surface mirror in there is really... I shouldn't say I overpaid. I mean, these things never come up for sale, so... When you talk about value, I don't know what the value is. It's what I paid for it on that day. It could be another decade or more before one shows up for sale, so I do not regret for 1 second buying it, because this looks really, really, really clean inside. So you may recall I picked up another Protelgram at a recent swap meet. I still haven't looked at that, so I have to watch the video from when I took this out to see how it goes back on. So I'm struggling here. I think it must go like this, right? So that one I don't know the condition of. I do know my other Protelgram is miserable, and both my Scotts are absolutely miserable. So I have no doubt, or little doubt in my mind, that I will have use for this. The Scotts have been kind of torn about. I was originally thinking I'd make one good one out of the two that I picked up. But both cabinets are pretty much equally miserable, so I kind of figure I'd like to get both of them working, especially with acquiring things like this. So, in the not too distant future, there's actually starting to be some room in the basement, because I've been getting customer sets out of the basement, and I can actually like work down here and lay stuff out. So that Scott 6T11, it's all in pieces out in the garage from when I got it. I should be able to bring it in here in the not too distant future. Maybe take a much better look at it. Oh, yeah, no paperwork. I'm curious. I mean, this must be the original box. It was taken out at some point. The box was certainly opened, probably multiple times. But it's hard to say it was ever used. So there we go. Yeah. So the CRT would normally sit inside, and there's a 45-degree mirror, and it would shoot up. It's kind of like a much larger projection system, but they folded it in on itself. So it's very compact, where the light sort of bounces around inside and then shoots up this way. So this is actually where the light comes out of, right here, and the CRT would be going in this way. Hey guys, the other day I posted a photo of a book that was recently given to me by a fellow collector, and I thought we could flip through it to wrap up this video, because it is definitely related. This is a book put out by writers called TV Picture Projection and Enlargement. I'd never seen this book before, had no idea it existed. And it's pretty unique, it's pretty interesting. It's the only publication I've ever seen devoted to projection and magnifiers. I've seen some projection literature from, say, RCA, explaining how it works, but not a whole book. And I've never seen anything talking about magnifiers before. This is from 49, and well, really by 50, this stuff was all obsolete. So that's part of the reason why there's not much publication about it too. So projection systems, apparently RCA developed it during the war. And immediately in 46, when they started TV production, they did have a projection set. And they used the same chassis in all the projection sets from 46 to 49, then they stopped making them. And the magnifiers were aftermarket things. Maybe one or two makers sold them with the set. I'm thinking like the little 3-inch Pilot TV. But otherwise it was aftermarket. So what are we talking about in either case? Is we're trying to make a bigger picture without using a big picture tube, because that was not really feasible back then, or was prohibitively expensive. Back in 46, I believe the biggest was a 20-inch put out by Dumont, and they were crazy expensive. So the idea with magnifiers is, well, you put a magnifier in front of the picture tube. Now all the stuff I'm flipping through, this is all the math behind it. How mirrors work, how lenses work, how light works, how it gets refracted and diffracted and magnified and so on, how your eye works, and all that kind of stuff. Because all that is crucial to designing things like this. And as probably most of you know, pre-war sets, the deflection angle was so low, the picture tubes were so long, instead of having a 4-foot deep TV, you had a 4-foot tall TV, which the picture tube going straight up, and you had a mirror and a hinged lid that you would tip up. That's not what we're talking about in this. We're talking about making the image larger. And we talk about convex lenses and focal points and all that stuff. So it gets more interesting, believe me. But you need to know all this stuff if you're going to actually design one. Now, I'm not going to be designing one, but I do have bits and pieces of quite a few projection sets I've been teasing with you guys over the years. And believe it or not, to this day, I have yet to see a projection set, a vintage projection set actually working. I have parts of Protelgram, the Norelco Duo View, Scott 6T11, and most recently an RCA giant console TV. Alright, so let's start out with the lenses. So you need a special type of lens to be able to put it right in front of the picture tube and have it magnifying it. A Fresnel lens, in particular, a plano convex lens for direct image magnification. So there are kind of two types. I've shown, I think, these once or twice on my channel in the past. So one type, they were either really thick glass or it was perspex, clear plastic filled with oil. And in the center, they can get pretty darn chunky. And you'd put that, it'd be flat on the back and curved in the front. You put it directly in front of the set. And depending on where you'd sit, yes, it would magnify the image. Now it's not going to increase the resolution. So the scan lines are going to become larger. They didn't have pixels then, but you could start to see the actual scan lines. So yeah, it would make it bigger, but it wouldn't make it better, is what I'm trying to say. But if you've got a 7-inch TV, sure. And I've seen some that were for 10-inch TVs, and they're pretty darn big. And somebody online said they had one that was like for a 16 or a 21-inch, that it was just massive, massive. Oh, very quickly obsolete. That's why they're somewhat uncommon, because you get the 50-51 and suddenly 17, 21-inch sets became the standard and far less expensive. But they talk about it right here. There's that 20 BP4 I was just talking about. And they mention a bunch of these are kind of... There's also a 15-inch Dumont. These bottom two are quite obscure, quite expensive. Only Dumont used them. But the 7, 10, and 12, though, those were the vast majority of what sets were. Alright, so here's a type. I've definitely seen something like that. This is on top of a 10-inch RCA 630 TS, where it's a giant bubble magnifier, and you'd strap it to the top of the set, and you'd watch it through this. Now imagine if you're sitting it to the side. Yes, it gets quite distorted. It looks weird. So it's a somewhat limited viewing angle. Another common type I've seen where this would slide under the set. And what's cool about this is it lists actual companies that made these and the types they made. Walco Sales. Apparently RCA actually made one. I've never seen an RCA branded one. The Liquid Lens Company, Transvision. There's one from Liquid Lens where they, well, it looks like this one bonded right to the 10-inch kinescope. When they talk about the oil being inside there, it looks like that's just like fused to the front of it. Yeah, magnifiers attached to the tube face and the intervening space filled with oil. This reduces internal reflection and improves brilliance. I've never seen that type. Alright, let's get to the more interesting stuff. There's the Dumont with the giant, giant 20 BP4. Let's get to the projection stuff. Alright, 5TP4. This is what the RCA set that I picked up uses. So what are these? They work the same as a regular magnetically deflected picture tube, like a 10 BP4. Same type of yoke and drive signals. The difference is this. Instead of running on 9,000 volts or so, they run on more like 29,000 volts. 27,000 volts they mentioned here. But there's a later revision that can do more like 30,000. And if you can imagine, that requires, you start getting more exotic with the insulation and your flyback and voltage triplers and all that. And if anything goes awry, any of the deflection circuits stop working, you instantly destroy your picture tube, because there's so much energy in that electron beam, it burns the spot immediately. So it adds considerably to the cost of the set, is what I'm getting at. And they're a bit trickier to work on. You can't exactly throw them up on your workbench so easily. Alright, well, let's keep going. So again, more with the math, and now we have to get into mirrors and lenses and stuff. So yes, that's a super bright, incredibly bright picture tube, and there's a little 3-inch one, but you don't view that. That'd be way too bright, and it'd still be super small. So you shine that into a convex mirror, a bowl, a parabolic dish, if you will. A super bright front surface mirror, meaning the luminization coating is on the front, not of the glass, not the back of the glass. and that goes through a lens and it gets projected onto a screen. And that's when we start talking about all this math. So there's a CRT, there's a convex lens, it goes back this way, it hits a mirror going that way, and here's where you actually view, or actually not in this case. So this is how the 6T11 sort of works. Well, this is how, I shouldn't say that. This is how most of the projection system works. So CRT goes into a convex mirror, makes the light shine right back at the CRT, and then there's a 45-degree angle mirror, shoots it up here, another 45-degree angle mirror, goes here, and it's a viewing screen which will be semi-transparent, frosted glass, sort of. And the light hits that frosted glass, and that's what you actually view. Or a folding screen, like for like an 8mm projector, like sort of a shiny screen surface. This is what they call the folded type, where the light actually comes right back on the CRT, and there's a 45-degree angle mirror with a hole in the middle of it, and the CRT pokes through. It's kind of cool the way the math works out. So you'd think there'd be an obvious shadow because there's a hole in the mirror and the CRT sticking through it, but you do not see that shadow. And here's the much larger type, so here's a Philco version. The bigger ones use 5-inch. But actually these do kind of work the same way, I forgot about that. So these shine down and hit a spherical mirror, and it does shine it right back to the CRT. And there's what they call a corrector lens that's going around the neck. Then it hits this mirror, and then it goes up here. Gets to you. Philco system's a little bit different than the RCA system, but principle is generally the same. We call it the optical barrel. The CRT fits in the large mirror. It's kind of like a telescope, the way it works. There's more with the Philco. We'll get into the RCA, which is the most common one. So there's 648 PTK, the one they introduced in. 46 are the way the model numbers work in RCA, so 648. It's 1946 and 48 tubes. Yes, there are 48 tubes in that TV. And there's the later 48 version. 8PSC41, so 1948 41 tubes. Kind of looks like a dresser. I like the earlier design better. Art Deco-y looking. So this is the way the one works that I have. This is the optical barrel I have, and I'm glad to get this diagram because mine was missing some nuts and bolts, and I wasn't sure what all of these do, but everything is called out very explicitly. The service info, it's kind of comprehensive, but there are some things missing. It seems like they weren't expecting these to have a long life, so they don't really give like disassembly instructions or how to put it back together and stuff. It's more like initial setup instructions and a schematic. Oh yeah, GE had one too. There's the GE 901, maybe the least common of these. Kind of crazy stuff. I am very anxious to see, and there's the Scott, there's the flip top one. I've got a couple of them that are both just disintegrating. It's not quite the same Scott quality as their chrome plated radios. It was a separate division. And the cabinets were not that well made, so that's why they tend to fall apart. Even between the two I have, I'm still not so confident I can make one working set. And there's, I posted a photo of this, and somebody said, they know somebody who has one. I've never seen one working. This is like a big brother to the Noroko Duo View system, where it's the projection CRT going right to a screen, and you'd have the electronics down this rolling cart. There were also even bigger ones used in movie theaters. And, like 100,000 volts, 80,000 volts, crazy stuff. So, let's see. Oh yeah, there was also a U.S. television company that they would make custom setups. Forgot about them. There's another one, United States Television. Those were more like for public places, bars, that kind of thing. So rather cool to see a book that outlines all the development, the math, the theory, rather than just flipping through some service info. So thank you for this book. And the last thing to talk about in here is actually something that was kind of predicting something that came many years later, which is to use mirrors and high-speed scanners and stuff. This is sort of a mechanical version of what I think it was TI came out with them. The DLP chips, which had an array of very tiny mirrors that an electromagnetic field would twist and project it onto a screen. Crazy stuff. But this is a sort of an early prototype version. I forget what this system was called. Scovision, something like that. None of them exist, just some bits and pieces. I think World War II kind of derailed that project. But anyways, so interesting little book. I've never seen this before. I don't know if it's scanned or available online or anything. But alright, that's going to be it for now. Eventually. I'm close to shipping out a bunch of TVs. I got a few more to finish for other customers. Then I will be getting back to my stuff. If you want to see more on my RCA projection set, it's on my Patreon channel along with a Flashmatic TV. So for as little as $1 a month, you could join that and you could learn more about my projection sets that I have been working on. So for now, thanks for watching.